Hansen allowed himself a moment of bemusement when Nixon saw the three of them suited up. If there was one thing Nix hated, it was outside work. Hansen held up a hand before his security chief could protest. "Relax, Nix, we're not going outside." "Not exactly." "What then?" Nixon asked, opening one of the lockers that held the isolation suits. He pulled the bulky white contraption off its hook and removed his boots. "Our unannounced guest out there landed a couple minutes ago, but she's radio silent. We don't know why." Nixon pulled the suit on over his clothes and zipped it up the front. He sat on the lone bench and reached for the matching boots. "They don't have atmosphere?" "No, they do," Hasegawa said as she stepped away from the scanner console next to the airlock door. "In fact, environmental conditions are perfectly normal." "And why the suits?" Nixon asked as he finished with the boots. "Because we haven't been able to talk to them," Hansen replied, and he pulled the helmet on. He heard the telltale click that told him the helmet was secured to the suit. "We don't know what to expect. It could be nothing, just a malfunctioning antenna array, or it could be a lot worse, so we're going aboard prepared." "Let me help you with those, Nix," Kehoe said as he approached the big man. He took one glove, then the second, and slipped them onto Nix's hands. "We all know how much you love wearing these things." "Wise ass," Nixon said. There was no anger in his voice, quite the opposite. If George Nixon could be said to have a friend among the personnel on Armstrong, it would be Kehoe. Their ever-escalating competition of practical jokes was the object of a lot of betting and whispered rumors on Armstrong. He looked at Kehoe with obvious mock concern. "Is that a tear in your suit?" "Not as bad as the one you're sporting on your shirt." "Had an appointment with Galena, did we?" Nixon might have blushed had his frequent visits to Mikolov's quarters been a secret. In truth, he had nothing to be embarrassed about. Most of the base personnel found their way to Mikolov's door sooner or later, most for a purpose other than sex. A tour on Armstrong could take its toll on a person in a number of ways, which meant the base psychologist was almost never off duty. It was also the reason most psychologists remained on Armstrong for only a single tour. Listening to the varied complaints took its toll on the doctor as well. Had Hansen not been in charge, he may well have scheduled an appointment or two already. He hated the idea of being away from his family for so long, but the CO of a pseudo-military installation was not allowed to have weaknesses, psychological or otherwise. He felt the ring on his finger through the thick cloth of the glove. He pushed thoughts of Barbara and the girls from his mind. This wasn't the time. "Docking sleeve is pressurized. We'll be entering through the D-deck first-class reception area," Hasegawa said. Hansen waited for Nix to put on his helmet. When he did so, Hansen reached for the intercom panel. "Right, this is Hansen. Any word from the GSA?" A momentary pause, then, "Negative, Colonel. They haven't responded yet. And still nothing from the Sovereign either." "Very well. We're opening the airlock momentarily. We'll stay in contact. Roger." Hansen closed the channel and reached for the airlock control mechanism. "Hang on," Nixon said, and Hansen stopped cold. Nixon inputted a code on the small locker farthest from the airlock and opened it. He reached inside and pulled out a handgun. He pulled the slide back and checked the safety. He wrapped the belt around his waist and holstered the weapon. "Is that really necessary?" Hasegawa asked. Her question was directed at Hansen, not Nixon. Hansen glanced at the weapon before he nodded at Hasegawa. "It might be. Better to play it safe." Hasegawa grumbled but said no more. Hansen looked over his team a final time, and then he pressed the red button on the airlock control panel. The hatch slid open. They were looking at the inside of the airlock. All four of them stepped inside, and Hansen closed the hatch behind them. He looked through the small window in the outer hatch at the umbilicus that would take them to the exterior hatch of the Sovereign of the Stars. He opened the hatch.